Welcome to HRM722, which is the HR Information Management and HR Research component of this 12-course program. I think you've made an awesome choice. I'm going to speak to my particular course, 1 out of 12. And you'll find that there's at least one or two things in this course that are the absolute essential, the must to get that first job into the HR profession, and you want to pay close attention. I'm going to make this course quite appealing for you, actually educational and enjoyable at the same time, especially since we're doing this via video and distance. We'll try our best. I'm going to work with you as hard as I possibly can to essentially establish success for you, and that involves the right attitude and also the confidence in the material so that you can start practicing HR, start selling your skills to an employer, and obviously get paid to do it. Each week I'm going to start off my lessons with a video like this so that you can see me. I'll try to change the backgrounds and of course my suit, my jacket. We'll see where it goes. Maybe we'll go outside one day. But I'm going to introduce this. I'm going to recap what we did the session before. I'm going to set an agenda for the particular session and then get right into the content. So you won't see the video for the whole time because I am going to get into some slides with some notes that you need. And just to let you know, everything that I cover in these sessions is also documented in the HRRIS toolkit document that is available to you at no cost. In fact, there are no textbooks for this course. It won't cost you a penny. I've created custom notes and custom videos for all of you. So depending on your learning style, and I appreciate that each one of us learns differently, you can either receive the information, transform it, the knowledge, build upon it just by listening to these sessions, or you can read the paper-based notes. You don't have to print them, they're on PDF. And in many cases, I have video tutorials as well. So one or a combination of those should serve your learning needs. And you learn at your pace, right? That's the beauty of all of this. Learn at your pace, take the time to soak it up. We don't, see, in a graduate program like this one is, we don't do bare minimum. We don't do enough to just get by. We try to get as much knowledge as we possibly can, because end of the day, that is what's going to be part of your personal brand, and that is what you'll be able to sell to an employer. Okay, so today's session, the agenda is an introduction to the course, the framework for the course, how the course works, and by the time we're done, you will have achieved all the outcomes and then some. I'm going to give you extra over and above material that might not be part of the course, but I know it will help you succeed, at least establish your personal brand. So we'll go over the course, and I'll start actually talking about the organizational framework within which our material exists, which is information management. Now, don't get bothered by the fact that the official course title is Personnel Research Techniques and HRIS. That title has always bothered me, and it's very difficult to change. So unofficially, we're going to call it HR Information Management and Research. And if you think it's technical and statisticy, don't worry about it. It's not. We're going to take it right down to management level. I'm going to get rid of as many science words as I can. I enjoy science, but management is different. And we're going to literally get right down to nitty-gritty, what you need to know on day one of the job. Survive your first year, do very well. In fact, teach your employer things they didn't even know. And then you're going to build upon that. So I'm going to essentially give you framework within which to build upon the knowledge that you have. So in that way, we're no different than doctors or lawyers or engineers who get framework of medicine, let's say, framework. They don't become truly a doctor when they graduate medical school. They get framework, and then they practice medicine. And practicing medicine is about evolving that framework to add patient profiles, knowledge, diagnostics, capabilities, and so on, so they become really good doctors. HR people are no different. In this program, you're going to get framework within which to think, framework within which to be resourceful, know where to find additional information, and over the years you will practice HR and you'll become good at it to the point where when you're a director or VP or manager, you don't have to scramble and go for notes. You just know. It's intuitive, meaning you've made mistakes before you've learned from them, and that you build upon that to become a true practitioner. Now, I'm assuming all of you have passion. Most of you should have passion for HR right now, which means you know this is your calling, this is where you want to be. Some of you, I get, maybe ruled out other parts of business, so you've ruled out science and HR just happens to fit. You will develop passion, okay? And then some of you might be in the program just because it's a thing to do, maybe for points or PR, work visa, whatever it might be. And that's okay. I respect that. Just make sure that you learn. Maybe nothing specific to HR itself, but general business practices, management styles, that sort of thing. Make sure you get something out of this as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over and we're going to go right into the notes. And each week you'll see sessions just like this, okay? So I mentioned your personal brand earlier, and we're going to talk a little bit about it. I mean, we're going to start developing knowledge related to information management shortly, but unless you have a grasp and an idea of what a personal brand is, then you might not appreciate that which is learned in the courses. So imagine you are a product, which you are. You're a product. You're about to try to sell yourself as a professional to an employer. The employer is the customer. That customer has a job. Let's say HR advisor or HR coordinator or HR assistant. They are going to send the word out that they're looking to buy a person, a credible person with the competencies, knowledge, skills, abilities required to do the job well at the right price. Now, there's 100 people who are going to apply. And if you look like all the other 100 people, that's okay. It's going to be very difficult to figure out why you got chosen or you didn't get chosen. So you want to separate yourself out, and the way that happens is brand. And by the way, physically, that's either on your resume or on your LinkedIn or your blog, whatever you might have. Now, in this particular course, I'm going to give you one or two things, Excel, for example, that are absolute minimum. So imagine an employer is going to look at your resume, and they're going to check off. And all the 100 people, they're going to check off if they have the bare minimum. And part of the bare minimum, I mean, to give you an example, your ability to breathe, right? I mean, and communicate. How's that? Use your voice in one way or another to communicate. But then if you have additional things, like you don't need to have high-end knowledge of compensation or health and safety at that point. They'll look at that later. But the bare minimum, okay? And one or two of those things come out of this course. Now, the more layers of branding potential that you add to your own brand, the better you look, and you end up in the top 10. So for example, if out of 100 I want to be left with 10 resumes, what makes me put your resume on a pile to the right of me, the keep pile? The pile on the left of me is a throwaway pile. Now, I have a huge network of HR people, 5,000 people strong, and you know what I tell them? I tell them right away, if anybody applies for an HR job, number one, if they don't have Excel on it, okay, then throw it away. Right away. And I got to tell you, 98 out of 100 people have Excel. To have it done well, that's going to be you. So now you can prove you know Excel very well because you took my course. Now your resume automatically goes in the good pile. Now within that, I tell my network that if you don't see pivots, if you don't know what pivots are, it's okay. But if you don't see those, throw away the resume. And then put the good resumes on the right-hand side. So now the pile only has 5 resumes. And then out of those 5, I get to interview. I get to know you. So personality, your attitude, the way you communicate, your image, the way you present yourself are all important part of your brand. They're all important parts. But then pivots helps. And I'm going to allow you to add one more, and it's called Tableau. It's over and above, it's extra to this course, but I'm going to introduce it to you. And another thing called Taleo. I'll even give you access to other systems like Super HR and SAP. You see what I'm doing for you? So although there might not be marks involved for these things, allow me to introduce all sorts of extra goodies for you, $20,000 plus worth. That if you were to do those, either now or in the next 12 months when you're more relaxed, you have more time, then your brand looks that much more solid. In fact, people ask me, Ash, how do you decide what goes inside this course? I mean, do you just pick up a book and go chapter by chapter? I go, heck no. I got rid of all the books. I wrote my own notes. My own notes based on observations, based on the 150 plus clients I've had, big companies, small companies. And I saw what they need. We actually have coffee with these employers all around us, downtown, all around the campus, all these big headquarters. And we asked them, what would it take for you to hire one of our HR people before anybody else? And they get excited. They go, yeah, wow, you're going to create a custom product for me? I go, yeah, sure. Forget the silly things like making coffee and using a photocopier. I'm talking about good skills that they want to buy right now and skills for the future that they might not even know about. So what I do is I research the heck out of that. I package it up in the form of intellectual packages, and I deliver those packages to you in terms of, let's say, a lecture like this or video tutorials or notes, guest speakers, what it might be. And I deliver those to you each week. And then it's up to you to receive it one way or another, the way you like to receive it. And I don't believe in leaving knowledge on the table. Just because you got some of it, enough to get by, that's not good enough to me. So as a grad student, and I shouldn't even call you a student right now, but as a grad, you need to forget about marks. You will get the mark you get, okay? Don't worry about that. But you're going to work hard with less tension, less anxiety, less pressure about the mark. You're going to spend more time soaking up and listening and making sense out of the knowledge that you're getting in these 12 courses. Remember, it's framework, right? And the more you pay attention to, the better off you are. Listen, I don't care. You can get an A+ in this course and not know anything. Some of my best students have gotten B's and C's. And I ask them sometimes, and they go, we don't really care about the grades. We spend more time focusing on the learning. And they're the most successful people that we have right now out in industry. So I want you to take time to start building your personal brand. Ask yourself, what is it that my employer, my customer needs? What do they want to see? So in addition to fixing your LinkedIn and your resume, consider starting a blog. And a blog is just simple. You don't have to keep writing on it. It's like a website where you start talking about various things you've done, any project you've done, any studies you've done, any research you've done in school, and then present it as if you got paid for it. So when people see the exposure you've had out to all these different things, then you become a stronger brand. And then start working on your communication as well. Now, let's go over to the course. I want to get some things out of the way. By this time, you would have seen My Seneca. You would have been able to log in. What I'd like you to do in the next week or so is go to my course, HRM722, have a look, and see what's in it. There's different sections for Excel, for pivots, for Super HR, and so on. See the resources available to you. Now, there's a lot. Not all of it's official. You don't have to do all of it. Don't freak out. As a minimum, you're going to follow what we do in class week by week, especially with Excel and pivots. You'll see. I have a weekly schedule. The other things are extra. So, for example, if you're with me, you're going to do as I do. If you're a little bit behind, you're going to work a bit harder, do additional exercises. If all of this is new to you, you're going to do the most basic exercises. If you're advanced, meaning you've done a lot of this, you grasp it quickly, then fine, move on to the more intricate exercises, and you'll be a little bit ahead of the game. And that's the beauty of the flexibility. I don't expect you to learn all of this in 1 week. That's not how it works, because you are taking 6 courses, but you're going to go at your own pace, and I'm here to totally support you. But at the end of the day, there are going to be deliverables. So if you go to the My Seneca course site, you'll notice that these are your deliverables, okay? Now, there is going to be tests. Now, I told you marks are not important to me. They're not. But I do have a contract with the college. The college has a contract with you. You have a contract with me. And the college has a contract with the government. And the government, Ministry of Education, training colleges and universities says, yeah, you have to have some sort of mark. So we don't really deal in percents. We deal in letters. So A+, A, B+, whatever it might be. Don't worry about those marks. Nobody will ever see them, okay? Really, they won't. They're gonna wonder, what do you know? How can you apply what you know versus what mark did you get on it? Okay? So I am going to have to give you some tests just so I can assess and evaluate where you're at. They're all open book. That's a cool thing. And I'm going to give you first test at 45% Excel test. Then a pivot test, then a written test. Now, it says online. Ignore that. It's all online. And then there's going to be 10% other. And I like this component because it's discretionary. I get to decide with you, actually, or you help me decide, what can you do to earn those 10 discretionary points? And I've got ideas. Don't mind. Okay, I've got the ideas. I know what I can ask you to do to earn them. But if you have some sort of creative ideas, please email me. One of them isn't just give it to us. Okay, I'm not going to do that. That's not right. But for example, I have a thing called Tableau, data visualization. Maybe you've never heard of it. That's okay. It's awesome. It's hot right now. People love to see it on their resume. There's another thing called Taleo, which is an applicant tracking system. And again, nobody else is getting this. You are the only HR program right now that is getting Pivots, Tableau and Taleo, and Microsoft Office Specialist. So I might just introduce that to you. Although I can't officially force you to take marks, I could say if you do it, then maybe I could redirect that 10% towards that effort. And the better you do, the more of those marks that you'll get. So what a great way to pick up extra bonus points for doing something that I would ask you to do because it's good for you. Isn't that awesome? But if you come up with other ideas, that's okay too. Okay? So now how things work on a weekly basis, don't worry too much about that. When you log into My Seneca, you're going to see live sessions or weekly sessions, week 1, week 2, week 3. And in each folder, you're going to see what you need to do. So for example, this is week 1. Week 1, there's not much. You're here, you're listening to this. You're picking up what the course is about. I'm going to lecture a little bit soon. And that's it. Just soak that up and explore the My Seneca environment. So next week in week 2, we'll talk a little bit more, develop more framework, give you more ideas, and then we're going to start Excel. And with Excel, I'll give you a spreadsheet. And if you could do that spreadsheet, what we did in class, you're good to go. Week 3, we'll keep adding. Week 4, we'll keep adding. And you're going to feel so comfortable with this environment, this course. And you know what? Employers are going to really, really like what the heck you're going to get out of it. Because in my course, you get the stuff that if you don't have it, nobody will look at your resume. Okay? So pay attention. Now, don't let it get too technical either. I mean, for example, a couple of things I'm going to ask you. One is don't call me your computer's teacher because I'm not a computer guy, okay? I'm Indian. You saw me. Not all Indian people are IT people, okay? I'm not. I've never took a computer course in my life. I'm a business person. I'm a management person. It's been in my blood for 3-4 generations. But one day I realized that I cannot do business or management without the use of technology, computers. I mean, you have a computer, right? That doesn't make you a computer person. You have a car. That doesn't make you a mechanic. But I learned that we need to leverage the power that technology can get to us. Whether it's a laptop, a desktop, your telephone, a smartphone in your pocket, it doesn't matter. But that will allow us to manage information that will allow us to move on with the critical thinking work required in business, the strategic work. Okay? And don't call this your computer's course. It's not. It really isn't. And in that word research, people say, oh my God, I didn't sign up to do research in this. No, it's not like that. It's not statisticky research, go do surveys. It's more about looking at your workforce, top down, segmenting your workforce. It's about looking at how people behave, benchmarking, and how to make that difference, that change in the workforce to achieve strategy. Now, we can't move on with any of that until we understand organizational framework. Now, I fully appreciate that not all of you have a business degree background. In fact, most people don't. You're either from psychology, sociology, art history, some sort of science. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. In my course, I assume nobody knows anything about anything I'm going to talk about. We're going to start from scratch, from zero on everything. So let me start you off. I find a lot of HR people don't understand the organizational environment that they work within. For example, they work in an organization. You will, right? And an organization anywhere in the world, anywhere, it looks about the same. The words are different, but it looks about the same. Organization is simply one or more people who have goals, missions, something to achieve, purpose. For example, I'm a consulting firm. I told you I'm a consultant. I'll share a lot of those stories with you, by the way. I'm a one-person consulting firm, and I do everything that you see in front of you. Everything. I might not have huge accounting needs or marketing needs. That's okay. But a large corporation might have a lot. Whether you're manufacturing, service, government, for-profit, not-for-profit, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to draw two contrasts. One is, let's take a large company that manufactures things like General Motors, right? They make cars. They also make trucks and airplanes and satellites. And the other company I'm going to look at is a law firm. Now, a law firm is a group of lawyers that practice law. They don't manufacture anything physically, okay? They use their minds. And for every minute that they're using their mind for a client purpose, they get the bill. So guess what my very first job was? See, I had business training, and my first job ever, if you don't mind, I'll tell you, was to work. Well, my dream was to work at King Street and Bay Street, downtown Toronto. And that is the financial center of Canada. And I just wanted, it was my dream just to work there. I didn't care if I made coffee. I just wanted to work. And I did get a job. I got a job at a law firm, Canada's largest law firm at the time, 180 years old, 350 lawyers, total staff of 2,000 people, 10 floors in a building. In fact, if you ever watch a television show on TV called Suits, where Suits happens, those are our offices, right? And it happens kind of like that too, except for that Lewis guy. We didn't have one of those. But anyways, imagine this. General Motors has a whole lot of people in a box called executive. Look at the diagram in front of you. In that box are directors, presidents, chief information, chief executive, chief administrative officers, CHRO, you name it. Maybe VPs. And they set the strategic direction. They take the ultimate risk. They see the future. They probably get paid the most because they made most of the mistakes. They've gained experience to their mistakes. So General Motors has thousands of those people. My law firm, we didn't have thousands. We had a few. We had a managing director. We had a chief information, chief administrative, that was our boss, chief financial officer, and a president. Now, General Motors has thousands of people in another box called sales and marketing. They sell products, and marketing finds out what the public wants, and marketing channels, how to get goods out. My law firm, we didn't have sales marketing, but we did have that box. See, every organization has that box. We called it public relations. 3 people who sold, who promoted our services to the world. General Motors has a box called finance accounting. Thousands of people doing finance, raising capital investments, accounting for how we spend the money, taxes. My law firm, we had 40 people in accounting, billables. General Motors has a box called engineering development. Thousands and thousands of engineers, designers, artists, developers, research and development people that design the cars, right? My law firm, we didn't really have engineers, but we did have that box. You know who was in it? People that we put there who would design new ways of selling law. I know it sounds kind of weird. I mean, how do you sell law? Law is law, right? Sure, you can design a new car and make it, but law? Look, my law firm did every type of law except criminal law. We did a lot of corporate law, family law, patents, trademarks, insurance litigation, you name it. So one day, HR was called and they said, we want to start new types of law within corporate. So we hired the right talent at the right price, put them in the engineering development box, or what we call practice group development, and they designed 2 new types of law. Guess what they were? It was entertainment law and sports law. We didn't do that before, but we wanted to be in it. So these lawyers that we hired were so good, we also hired support staff. See how HR helps? That they built these practices, we got them the offices, hired another 30 people for them. Within a year, we ended up getting all the major concerts in Canada, all the major rock groups, or I should say musical groups, pretty much every show, Broadway, what do you call it? Not Broadway, but kind of stage show that happened, and every sports team, except for Vancouver. Now, General Motors has a box called production, which is the largest box. That would be 250,000 people who actually work in the facilities, the factories that make the cars. Right? Think about it. My law firm, we also had that box. Those are the lawyers, 350 lawyers who didn't produce cars. We didn't produce anything physical, but we produced a service. So every minute a lawyer thought on behalf of a client was billable. And then, of course, there's miscellaneous, which is all the support people like IT, security, cleaning staff. And technically, HR would be in that box as well, support. But we're special. We get our own box. So I think you get the idea. If you're working in HR and you have no idea about the other areas of your organization, you have to ask yourself, Who are you doing HR for? You don't do HR for yourself. You do it for people in these other boxes. So it is truly important, even before you apply for a job, to appreciate the uniqueness of people in each of those boxes. And those boxes, by the way, like production, would be split into even more, like manufacturing, distribution, warehousing, transportation, logistics. But you should know that unique nature of your organization. You know, Coca-Cola is different than General Motors, is different than my law firm, is different than a hospital, is different than a bank. And if you know the type of industry that you might want to work in, start looking at it now. Start talking to people, start researching, start asking questions. Because what you do in HR has to reflect the unique nature of these different areas of your organization. Because if you don't, then people end up resenting you. They start hating HR and wondering why we cost so much money. But if you react and you create policies and programs to meet the needs that are unique to each of those boxes, you become popular. So now let's have a look at that HR box. What within HR, what is it that we do unique? And normally I'd ask you and you'd say the obvious, we pay people, we do health and safety training. But here you go. There's more than you think. I mean, you're taking 12 courses, right? At least 10 of those courses have to be something. So HR planning is the whole process, senior level, that decides on the supply of people in the future and the demand for people. How many do we need and how many will we get? It plans for the use of people using charts and tables. Staffing, recruitment, selection, I think we all get. Once we have a need for people, we staff that person. Staffing also means letting go people that are not working out, right? Think about it. That's important. Compensation we all get. That includes pay, benefits, recognition, rewards, pensions, that sort of thing. Training development, health and safety, time management, that's a thing. It's not a specialty. It's just keeping track of vacation and absences. We'll talk about that later. There's a role called performance management, labor relations if you have a union, employee relations if you don't have a union and you don't want one, legal compliance, although not a specialty in HR, it is something that's important to put up there because everybody has to do legal compliance. In fact, next week we're going to talk about that. And then there's a side role called payroll that actually gets money out to the people that need it. I mean, if you think about it, if you don't pay people on time, then everything else you do in HR is irrelevant, right? And there's a box in the middle called HRIS, and that's this course, HR Information Management or Systems. It's the role within HR that ties all the intelligence together, makes it available, makes information available to people when they need it, how they need it. So what I'd like you to do in the next few months, if you're not sure today, and you just want to be a generalist, a person who does a bit of everything, that's okay. But at some point, if you realize, hey, I want to specialize in one of these things, you know what? I think you'll have a much better career. Because a generalist doesn't get to do all of it, you see? Generalist dabbles in a bit of this, bit of that. For example, generalists won't do planning. They'll do staffing. They'll do time management. They will manage performance, but won't set performance systems up. They'll do legal compliance for sure, and probably payroll. But we need specialists for compensation, for training, for health and safety, and labor relations. And the hot ones right now, to be honest, are benefits, health and safety, and HRIS. And I'll do a session for you later on, a separate private session, talking about different pathways to fulfilling careers within HR, not just HR in itself. And I'll show you very low cost or free pathways of how to get there, how to set your profile, your brand, faster than anybody else to get there. So I'll do a session like that later, okay? But there's a lot of things here that you can consider. Now, generalist, of course, would do a bit of everything. So there could be one person in your company doing all of this stuff because you're a small company. But then you're probably not doing heavy-duty training. You probably might not have a union. Performance is very simple to do. Or you might be a large company where there's several people doing all of this. And I'll give you an example. At Seneca College, we have a total workforce of about 4,000 people, okay? And we have one entire floor in a big building that's just for HR. So HR planning, it comes out of the VP's office, and there's 2 people associated with that. Staffing, there are 6 people. Comp, benefits, pensions, pay, there are 11 people. Training development, there are 7 people. Health and safety, there are 3 people. Time management is just done automatically. Performance is coming out of various departments, so there's no one person doing it. Well, there's 1 director, okay, and 2 associates. Labor relations, we have, I think, 7 people, including a director. And we don't have legal compliance. Most companies don't have lawyers in HR. Very large ones might. But you might be that one person in your HR department who can navigate the legal landscape better than anybody else. Doesn't mean you're a lawyer. It means you can talk to a lawyer, but you kind of know what the laws are and where to look for, which government agency to call, Ministry of Labor, etc. That might be your thing. And then, of course, payroll. Now, as an entry-level job, if you know a little bit about payroll, it helps. If you get certified in payroll, CPA, I think it's 2 extra courses. It really helps you get that first job. But payroll is not necessarily where you want to be as a career. It is a good career. But this program is not designed to make you into payroll people. That's a whole different thing. Okay? Now, if you think about it, in an HR department, whether it's 1 person or several people doing all of this, there's an awful lot of data related to each one of these things. You might not know what all that data is. I mean, as an example, a person's name, the social insurance number, how much they get paid, their hire date. I get it. There's thousands of things, and each one is unique. So that if you don't have management systems, tools that help you manage that data, the burden becomes too big. And what happens is, although the data, the information is there, and there's so much of it now, you might not, as a human, you might not get to all of it. You will not use all of it. Now, I'll let you in on a little secret. Don't get offended. Humans are the laziest living things in the world, okay? Now, we're the smartest. So imagine we figure out how to do something. And we know it's good for us, so we do it a few times. But then because it is burdening, because it is tedious to do, we tend to get lazy and stop doing it. But if we introduce technology, computers, let's say software like Excel and Tableau, that allow us to do that data management that we don't like to do, but we know we want to do it, then we tend to do it because the technology is going to help us. It's sort of like driving. If you can drive, I mean, you don't have to walk, right? I mean, we all like to travel. And then walking, we tried it, then you get tired and you give up. But the car extends our ability to navigate, to travel. Think of it that way. Okay? So now, one more thing before we end. There's this concept of data versus information. Now, I know a lot of people in the world, most people, would use the word data and information interchangeably. And that's fine. Okay, I'm okay with that. But it's not true, actually. All information in the world is data. Yes, it is. But not all data is information. So think of data as just raw, without meaning. Numbers, words, letters, numbers. ABC, 1, 2, 3. Even if you have a picture or a audio recording or video, that's still data. The name of the file would be data. And in this day and age, in my opinion, all the data that you can legally collect and store and keep, you should. Don't let anything go. Keep it. Because hard drives and the cloud is either free or it's very cheap. So let's just keep as much data as we can. Not all of it's useful, though. And when we have so much data available to us, the task is to get to the good within that mountain, that pile of data, so that we can do something with it. So when you take data and you find the stuff that is useful today, and you put meaning around it, it becomes information. Data with layers of meaning is information. Now, if we learn how to harness the power within all of that data using technology, computers, software, tools, and we could get inside that data quickly, meaning sort out and filter only the good stuff, leave the rest behind. so that we can look at all the good information quickly, accurately, we can now start thinking about what that means. And thinking pays an awful lot more money than getting. Thinking is what pays money. Now, when you have information in front of you and you see either problems or opportunities, problems or opportunities, problems or opportunities, and you decide to take action, that's called actionable knowledge. That's where we want to be super quick. We have the data, it's already there. We don't want to be lazy about it. We don't want to ignore any of it. We don't want to leave any of it behind. We want to get to it quick, turn it into information so we start thinking about it. And we start thinking about it, we take action on it, and now we are strategic. We are successful. We don't experience as many problems as other people. We are profitable. We're socially responsible, forward. All that good stuff that you think about when it comes to business. That's what we get to do with it. Organizations who don't have that knowledge of converting data to information are the ones who get left behind. They're the ones who cannot compete well enough. They're the ones who lose people. They're the ones who lose customers. They're the ones who don't innovate. So your ability to convert data to information quickly and efficiently and visualize it is what's going to make you the biggest dollars in the business world. I kid you not. The rest of this course is about introducing the right tools that's going to allow you to do that. Right? And then think even beyond that. Artificial intelligence, blockchain. We'll cover those topics off. Now, keep in mind though, we're HR people. We're not technical people. The more technical knowledge you have, of course. Sure, it's not a bad thing. It's like if you drive a car, you don't need to know how to open the engine compartment, the hood, and fix the engine. No, we have mechanics for that. It would be nice if you were able to do it and kind of troubleshoot a little bit, but you don't have to. See, the beauty of HR people is we can hire people to do things we don't know how to do. Hire IT people, hire programmers. If you don't know the math stats side to it, hire the stats people. Don't worry about it. You then become the architect, the thinker, and that's what I want to pay you big dollars for. Okay? We'll see you in the next session. We're going to explore more around the same idea.